Throughout time, man has conquered many an obstacle. And coming up today at 11:30, 10 donuts, 5 minutes, and one play-by-play prodigy seeing if he can do what our fearless leader, our program director, Chad Hastings, once failed miserably to do. See if Cameron can complete the donut challenge. We're lighting it up. This is a Thursday edition of Light the Tower on the Horn. Jeff Howe, Cameron Parker behind the glass. Craig Way still vacationing. Cameron, are you ready, sir?
I thought it was 10 minutes.
Are we doing 10 minutes?
I think it was, you said 10 minutes, 10 donuts in 10 minutes.
10 donuts in 10 minutes? Okay. That's what we're going to do. 10 donuts.
I don't think I'd do 10 and 5, to be
10,
honest.
10 and 10.
What did Chad do?
I think that's the Joey Chestnut record is 10 and 5.
Yeah, well, that's Joey Chestnut.
Chad, I think Chad got to I think he said 6. But here they are. By the way, big shout out to Steve over at the Shipley's Donuts on Brody. Which, by the way, you know that is the frequent morning stop of the father of one Isaiah Collier.
Really? Okay.
CC apparently frequents the Shipley's on Brody. So I will take the tape off the box. There they are, Cameron. Look, with your name on them, sir.
Keep them hot and fresh for me, please.
Yes, they are staying in the box. Going to keep them sealed. Just wanted you to get a good look. I don't want there to be that shock. So I was talking to Chad about it yesterday, and I was like, at what point did regret settle in when you were doing that? He said, honestly, as a doubt crept in about right after Donut 2. Doubt started to creep in, and then regret came at about 5. And I'm thinking like by 6 or 7, it was just shame is all he was feeling. So those are the 3 phases, Cam, that once you get there, you'll know what you're dealing with. Okay. Once you feel doubt, know that a couple donuts later, regret is going to come. And then if you get to shame, like around 8 or 9, do you have enough in you to push over the hump?
A determination, right? The will.
Yep.
The willpower.
My senior quote was a Michael Jordan quote that I got off of a Gatorade display.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how hard you push along the way. It's having something inside you to finish that counts. Just think about the GOAT and take it personally, Cam. This donut challenge. Oh, man. Well, we're going to have a good freaking time today here on Light the Tower. A lot of good news, Cam. And, hey, you know what? I'm in such a good mood. Let's go ahead and kick this program off with a breaking news sounder. You heard it on B&E, very, very late in their show. Very, very late in their show yesterday. I jumped on with those guys. I talked about Ethiel Horton, the grad transfer from UCF, on campus for his official visit. Talked about, well, he's gonna take a visit to Kansas. This is my understanding. There will be no visit to Kansas. Ethiel Horton committed to Texas. Actually, truth be told, because I had my story raring and ready to go at Hornets 24/7. I was told he actually committed to Rodney Terry Company last night, so it was just a matter of this going public. So Ethiel Horton is in the boat, Cam. They've got 11 scholarship players, and, from the outset, when you look at what Texas, look at Max Asmus and Caden Shedrick were their top 2 priorities in the portal early on. They felt like regardless of whatever the roster looked like, and I've said this in terms of talking to sources, and RT mentioned it on the record, that those were the 2 guys they wanted above anything else. And then they made a couple of evaluations for some guys that they like for now, but especially down the road in Zarek Onyema and Kendall Weaver. They wanted a high school guy if the right guy popped up, and they waited and got that guy with Chris Johnson. But the other thing they wanted a guard who had some size and some length, and they wanted a shooter. Well, in Ethiel Horton, you get all of those things. And you get a guy that's got some toughness about him, some athleticism. We've seen him flash the ability to finish in traffic. Prolific 3-point shooter. About 38. I was almost at 87, but 37% career 3-point shooter. But Cam, you mentioned it yesterday. This guy's over 80% career from the foul line. If you can just get him in situations where maybe he's attacking off the bounce a little bit more and is able to get in the flow of this Texas offense, now you're talking about a guy that, along with Tyrese Hunter and along with Max Asmus, and comparing Caden Shedrick's like a high 60s, low 70s% free throw shooter. Now you're talking about a lineup that, again, you could have one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country again.
Yeah, you mentioned a good point yesterday. With that 80% free throw shooting rate, he was only averaging about 1 to 2 free throws per game. But he had a 30-point game last year where he was 8 of 18 from the floor, hit 5 3-pointers, I believe, and he was 9 from 9 from the stripe. So you see that possibly as his potential of what he could do. He can have that scoring night, but also I think the big plus for this is his 6'5" frame, 200 pounds, the wingspan. He can play defense alongside Max Asmus and Tyrese Hunter, and he's going to be that Jabari Rice type role. I mean, a lot of it was made about Rice's ability to shoot and score and the pump fake, but he played really good defense as well.
Outstanding defense, yeah. You had, and Marcus Carr became really, as his career at Texas went on, became a much better on-ball defender than he was when he got to Texas. You had 3 dogs. I mean, when those guys were locked in, you find me a better defensive backcourt in college basketball last year than Rice, Carr, and Hunter. Because Tyrese Hunter, when Tyrese Hunter's locked in, there aren't very many better on-ball defenders in the country than Tyrese Hunter. And that's when you think about the teams that when Rodney Terry was in his first stint at Texas under Rick Barnes, you think about the better teams Rick Barnes had. They had dudes that were just straight up Dobermans on the perimeter and could really, really get up in you and get after you. You think about, a Royale Ivy, your Brandon Mouton was that type of guy. Even go forward, a Doge Balbe, a Booby Gibson could even give you some of that at times. So they obviously Avery Bradley, who's been one of the better guys guarding at that position in the NBA for over a decade now. So that's the kind of the heart of what, and when I think of Rodney Terry basketball and I think of what, if you want to borrow something from Rick Barnes, I think that's the main thing he wants to borrow from Rick Barnes. Can you get, and we've heard him use this term a lot, Cam, can guys just get down and are they willing to guard people? Are they willing to stop the ball? And when Texas was really good last year, they were able to do that. And I think they've got a really good chance to do that this year with Ithiel Horton, with Tyrese Hunter, with Max Asmus, and then whatever minutes Kendall Weaver or Chris Johnson are going to give. Chris Johnson is a thicker bodied guard. I know Kendall Weaver's a little bit slight of frame, but we saw Kendall Weaver get after it and play defense at UT Arlington last year. So really, really like this backcourt. The front court, it speaks for itself with Dessou and Mitchell coming back. You add Caden Shedrick. You've got Brock Cunningham still around. Alex Emekwe played a little bit last year, probably figures to play a little bit more this year. And then you've got Zarek Onyema, who I've said this, Cam, when they started recruiting him, I like him for the Christian Bishop role. That role of a 6'7", 6'8", bench guy who can play, be a functional 5 for you, can guard multiple positions in the front court, but a dude that's just going to give you energy. He's going to give you effort. He's going to rebound his tail end off, and he's a guy that if the opportunity presents itself, you can throw him a lob, he can finish it, and he can play well around the rim. So when you look at the bottom line is, with the addition of Horton, this staff, I think, did as good a job as anybody could have expected them to do of going 1-for-1 replacing the pieces they lost from last year.
Yeah, especially after losing A.J. Johnson and Ron Holland to the G League and the NBL. You had no one signed to your class for a moment. You lost a few transfers. You're losing Marcus Carr, who was a big part of the team, Jabari Rice, and go on and on. The way RT and his staff have rebuilt, not just on the coaching staff as well, with Frank Haith. Frank Haith, I think, was a big part in this recruitment as well. Jeff, you probably know more about that than me, but Frank Haith he's coached against this kid as well.
That's Horton. The thing, yeah. Coach Haith saw him last year. He was Penny Hardaway's top assistant in Memphis, and those two teams see each other in the American. So yeah, he got a front row seat, and that's typically how a lot of these transfers tend to happen. You look at where guys have coached and look at who they're familiar with, what teams they're familiar with, and it can happen by chance. It can happen with the familiarity. Obviously, RT had coached against Jabari Rice when RT was at UTEP and Jabari was at New Mexico State. We mentioned the tie there with Frank Haith and Ithiel Horton with Memphis and UCF. It could be too. Rodney Terry, RT told the story a while back after Kendall Weaver signed. They happened to be, they were recruiting Ron Holland and a couple of guys. Alex Emekwe is a guy that had just gotten out of his LOI from SMU, I think, or was about to. And Jacoby Walter was still at McKinney at the time. So they were at the state basketball tournament watching guys, and they really liked Kendall Weaver at that time out of Mansfield Timberview. And the conversation was, we really like him, but we just don't have room to take a developmental guard this year. They were just going to be out of roster spots. But lo and behold, he enters the portal, and it ends up being a fit for Texas. So it just goes to show you, if you really get out and get boots on the ground on the recruiting trail, or you're really doing your homework, if you're doing advanced scout for a coaching staff, you never know what's going to pop up in the portal. So good stuff there with Texas getting getting Ethiel Horton. I looked it up, Cam, and I've got it in front of me now after fumbling through various pages and whatnot, trying to get these tabs open on my laptop. Do you realize Caden Shedrick last year, and I mentioned the free throw shooting because for years, man, especially under Rick Barnes and under Shaka, man, free throw shooting down the stretch of games could have been a problem. And really, correct me if I'm wrong, Cam, the only time I really remember it biting Texas was that loss to Illinois at MSG early in the year.
That was tough.
I don't remember free throw shooting being a major issue. Free throw rate at times became an issue, just look at free throw disparity, but I don't remember free throws being an issue because that was a really good free throw shooting team. Caden Shedrick last year at Virginia shot a little over 79% from the foul line. For his career, he's a little over 74.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and we've seen Dylan Dessou be able to stretch the floor. As a matter of fact, let me look up. Really, other than Dylan Mitchell, who didn't shoot it well from the free throw line last year, this should be a really good free throw shooting team.
75% last year, Jeff.
Dessou was at 77. I'm showing him at 77.8 based on what I'm looking at. 81.3 his first year at Texas.
As a team, 75%.
Okay, thank you. And Dylan Dessou for his career, even going back to his time at Vanderbilt, a little over 71%. So other than Dylan Mitchell, you should be able to put really good free throw shooters damn near at every position on the floor. Because we know Tyrese Hunter and Max Asmus, that's not a problem for either of those guys.
Looking at how this roster is constructed, it's not super big, but it's guys who definitely aren't small, but also the athletic wing types. I mean, looking at Ethiel Horton, he's 6'4", 6'5". Kendall Weaver, 6'3", Jeff. Chris Johnson, the true freshman coming in, he's 6'4". Then Mitchell, 6'8". Dessou, 6'9". Onyema, 6'8". Shedrick, 6'11". It's a pretty versatile team that I think is going to set up defensively well for RT because it looks like pretty much everyone on this team can switch. Now, the other part of it is that Tyrese Hunter and Max Asmus are a little bit smaller, 6 foot for guards, but I think defensively it stacks up really well for RT and his staff.
Yeah, like we said, when Tyrese Hunter's locked in, and go back, go back and look at the job Tyrese did on Pickett at Penn State in the NCAA tournament. I mean, Pickett had what? I think he scored in double figures, but what was he shooting, Cam? Something like 3 for 13 or 4 for 14. I don't have that box score in front of me, but that was – and that's what I asked RT after the game about Tyrese, and he said when Tyrese is – that's where I get that from. It's straight from RT. He said when Tyrese is locked in and when he really gets down and defend, there are very few better – they said there might not be a better on-ball defender in the country than Tyrese.
Only concern is where does the scoring come from? Because Max Asmus is the leading returner scorer, not even leading, just the highest scoring last year, 21 points. But besides that, Jeff, Tyrese Hunter at 10 points, Ethiel Horton at 12, but everyone else is under 10 points. Are you worried about the scoring at all?
No, because you figure Horton's going to get his chance, his opportunities to score. Tyrese, we saw it a little bit last year. And one of the things that I heard that they wanted to do, and with Asmus, you can certainly do this. And by the way, we got a text on the Specs text line, 337-3776. It said, honest question, why does everybody pronounce Max Asmus as Asmus? Is that how it's pronounced? Yes. It looks like it's Abmus, but it's Asmus. That's how it's pronounced.
Don't ask.
Yeah, I just read the pronunciation guide and go. That's one thing I learned from Craig. Of all the things I learned from Craig, that's the one thing I've taken. But just read the pronunciation guide and go, and know what you're going to say before you get on the air too. I've made some of those boo-boos before. At any rate, we know a lot of it's going to go through Asmus, but look at the way the offense went through Dessou at the end of last year before he got hurt in the Penn State game and played 1 minute in the Xavier game and didn't play against Miami. We've seen Tyrese have 15 point, 20 point, 25 point games before. Horton certainly is capable of scoring. We've seen him in the ACC have 20 point games. As a matter of fact, I looked at I don't remember if it was a YouTube clip or a Twitter cut up, but I was looking at him yesterday. He had a 25 point game against Florida State last year. Now, granted, the Florida State program's not what it was a couple of years ago, but still, you go on the road in the ACC and score 25 points, you're capable of putting up points. Dylan Mitchell's, I think if I'm concerned about anything, Cam, and then we know Caden Shedrick just getting out of that just slower than smoke off what pace that Virginia operates out of. I think that'll open up and unlock his game a little bit more. The only thing if I'm concerned about anything with this team, it's how far can Dylan Mitchell advance his game in one off season, and how does that evolve throughout the course of the season? Because that's really that technically that 3 spot that you talk about, it becomes less of a concern adding Horton, knowing that you can play 3 guards and have 3 really good guards on the court. But what you get out of Dylan Mitchell, to me, is going to determine the ceiling of this team offensively.
And how does RT use him? Because he was used primarily as a 5 last year, but then the summer workout videos drop of him draining threes. And now, of course, you put anyone in an open gym who's a good enough basketball player, they're going to hit threes. Doesn't mean he's going to be Larry Bird now, but do you think RT and his staff are going to try and open up his offensive game a little bit more than just have him be a rim runner?
I think they want to, yeah. And that, to me, what I was told is that was the message that got back to Dylan and his people on, hey, if he came back to Texas, what does he need to do to factor into the offense more? And the message from what I was told was he just needs to get better at everything offensively. So I'm not expecting him to be a guy that takes 6-7 threes a game, but hey, maybe, and he's not going to be the kind of mid-range beast that Timmy Allen was. Like I said, the analytics probably hate Timmy Allen because he takes just a lot of mid-range jumpers and stuff that the analytics community frowns upon that doesn't translate really well to quote-unquote how basketball is played today. But if Dylan Mitchell can get to the point where you can rely on him to stretch the floor a little bit and like knock down a little elbow jumper 2-3 times a game, then that to me will be expanding his game enough to help you. Will it be enough to help him in the eyes of the NBA scouts? I don't know, but he doesn't need to be a guy that takes 6-7 threes a game.
And congrats to Jabari Rice on signing a 2-way contract.
Heck yeah, man. You're in a good spot when you sign your deal and you're not in the first leg of the summer league with your team. Like I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, I'm going to plead guilty, and I've thrown myself at the mercy of the court. The NBA's got that California Classic right now going on in Sacramento. I've watched like 4 or 5 of those games.
It's great stuff, dude. I love watching. Yesterday, you had Brandon Miller. I love watching because
Kai Jones was playing for the Hornets, by the way.
And Kai Jones has been playing.
What's up with Kai's hair too? Like it's like blue.
Yeah, he kind of dyed it blue when he first was drafted. He dyed it blue because he was playing for the Greensboro Swarm.
It's like he couldn't decide whether he wanted it teal or purple, and it just ended up kind of this bluish swirl on top of his head. But I digress.
It's better than the Jeremy Sohan dyed blonde, in my opinion. But
you're not digging that. You're not digging the Wesley Snipes Demolition Man.
Not really. But Summer League, it's been great. I love Brandon Miller not playing well because all my Hornets friends who wanted Scoot are just having mental breakdowns. Even though it's early, it's Summer League, it's 2 games in. His career will not be decided by going 2 for 4 in a Summer League game.
Dude, if you got peeps that are losing their mind over Summer League, you might need to tell them to reevaluate some things in their life.
Oh, well, I mean, you're a Charlotte Hornets fan, so you got to reevaluate a lot going into that.
No longer, soon to officially no longer be owned by the GOAT.
Yeah, although he's still making draft decisions. Hey, I'm selling the team, but by the way, let's take this guy at number 3.
No, Police Chief Cantu, you have not missed the donut eating challenge. Cameron's going to do that. Can he do 10 donuts? That's a donut a minute, dude.
So it is 5 minutes.
What?
I guess it is 5 minutes.
Is it 5 minutes?
Yeah. I asked Chad. Chad said 5 minutes. Okay. I thought you said 10 and 10. So it's 10 and 5.
We'll just see how far.
So I got to mentally just re-rack here.
That's fine. You do what you want. Cam, actually, a question for you on the Specs text line. By the way, enjoy this, Cam, because we have nothing else really to talk about except the NBA Summer League, and it's not even really officially the start of the Summer League yet.
No, not really either.
Cam, have you seen how Chet Holmgren is playing? Looks good for our Thunder.
7 blocks in 2 games. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
As long as Chet has two good legs, and as long as he didn't inherit like Bill Walton's feet or Sam Bowie's shins, then I think he's got a chance to be all right at the end of the day.
It's the same way with Wembanyama. It's like if he can stay healthy, he's gonna be a shot blocking menace. It's just, can he stay healthy, and how does his offensive game evolve in the NBA? We got
to mention the Wembanyama thing and Inconceivable, because I saw that on the way in.
Britney Spears?
I had to double take. So we'll break that down in Inconceivable. Also, I've got another one for Inconceivable that we'll get to. So we got Inconceivable to close out hour number 1. Longhorn Notebook coming up next. At the top of hour 2, we'll do our Longhorn Notebook and our Flex update in the first segment of hour number 2, because at the bottom of hour 2, Cameron's going to do the donut challenge. We'll see.
We want to do like 11:45, excuse me?
We're doing right about 11. I'd say probably between 11:30 and 11:35.
Okay.
Because we need some post challenge reaction from you before we get out of here. We can't just leave. Can't just get off the air. And again, shout out to Steve and the folks at the Shipley's Donuts on Brody. They brought a box, so there's a box out in the hallway for the staff, and this box right here has Cameron Parker's name written all over it. And again, Cameron, I told you, whatever beverage you want to use to wash it down, you just want straight up water, you need some hot water with lemon, coffee, whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me.
So I watched the tape last night of Chat. Just trying to learn what can I do
breaking
better.
down the film.
Sounds like warm coffee is the move. So we'll see. I'll probably at like 11 go into the Keurig machine, pop in some dark roast, medium coffee, whatever.
There you go. And real quick on the Specs text line, Texter says, why hasn't Wemby played Summer League yet? He's not doing the California Classic. The Spurs don't want him on the floor until the actual Vegas Summer League starts.
They're going to limit him pretty much this entire summer.
Yes. And he's not doing the FIBA, the FIBA World Cup?
He wanted to play in it, but they told him, let's just save your body. Let's get you ready for the regular season.
Man, because I know those guys love playing for their home countries, but like if I'm the Bucks, I'm telling Giannis, especially Giannis post knee cleanup, like, dude, don't push it and try to play for Greece in the World Cup. If I'm the Mavericks, I'm gonna tell Luka, like, dude, you're getting some treads coming off the tires a little bit. You don't need to be playing in the World Cup.
See, I agree with you on Giannis, but for Luka, his biggest issue is always being in basketball shape. I'm fine with him playing the Summer League because that means he's going to be working out consistently and he's going to be in better shape going into this season because, honestly, Jeff, I like the moves the Mavs have made. You traded for Grant Williams yesterday. Now you gave him that $54 million fully guaranteed deal. You still might work out Matisse Thybulle trade through the mid-level exception, which would be a good move. The Kyrie contract is Kyrie. Mark Cuban could send out a tweet and Kyrie could, want to leave the team. But overall, I think the team has gotten better where it was.
I was kind of sad to see Reggie. I was kind of sad to see Reggie. I am sad to see Reggie Bullock go.
Yeah.
Just look at that team that went to the Western Conference Finals. Reggie Bullock had some really good moments in the playoffs 2 years ago. So a little sad to see the former Tar Heel go, but such is life in the association. All right, let's get off of the NBA. We talked plenty of basketball this first segment. Ethiel Horton of Texas. If you missed any of that, get over to Hornets 24/7. I've got a write-up on that. Also talking to NBA Summer League. I'm not ashamed of myself to do it. It might sound like you guys are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Well, what else we got to talk about other than NBA Summer League? But we'll talk Texas football. 58 days away from kickoff, Cameron Parker. And in the Insider at Hornets 24/7 this week, it is loaded with some good nuggets on what's going down on the 40 acres. And we'll talk about that preseason All Big 12 team that dropped yesterday. We'll do that when we come back on Light the Tower, on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Got a dispatch from my man Rod Babers, co-host with me on the Longhorn Blitz podcast. Joey Chestnut's donut record. 55 glazed donuts in 8 minutes. Whether you want to watch competitive eating or whatever else you can fit into your sports watching schedule this summer, or you just need to make sure your home entertainment setup is ready by the time you get to football season, don't delay any longer. Pick up the phone and get in touch with Audio Visual Consultations right now. 512-255-8678. That's 255-8678. That's the call I made a couple of years ago when I made the move to San Marcos. And what I love about AV Consultations is Tom McKay himself came to my house, took some measurements, and put together a project that not only fit the budget that I had in mind, but it made sense for the amount of space that I have in my house. So whether it's competitive eating, NBA Summer League, or the NFL this fall, I'm watching everything possible on a 75-inch LG TV, hearing it loud and clear, making them walls thump with that Sonos sound system. AV Consultations keep the latest smart TVs and Sonos audio in stock. And if they don't have it, Tom McKay's one phone call away from getting it because he's connected with all kinds of distributors across the country and can get you the very best of the best, whatever you need. Maybe you need a smaller setup. Maybe you want a gaming setup. Maybe something in your man cave and you don't think you've got enough space. Well, they can make that happen for you. Or if you want to go in the opposite direction and put in your house that full tilt home theater experience, get you a 150-inch screen, Tom McKay would love nothing more than to make that dream become a reality. Just don't delay any longer. Just pick up the phone right now. Call AV Consultations, 512-255-8678. That's 255-8678. Call AV Consultations and let them give you the home entertainment experience you've always wanted. So that's why I call my friend Rod Babers a Renaissance man, because not only can Rod break down film like few can, not only can Rod talk about college football or the NFL, go through a number of topics, Rod's a Renaissance man because he can let me know at the drop of a hat Joey Chestnut's record for most donuts consumed in a certain amount of time. 55 and 8 minutes, Cam. That's harder than the 60 some odd or whatever his hot dog record is.
Did you watch it yesterday or Monday? Monday. What day is it?
Tuesday.
No, it's Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I don't know what.
No, trust me. I kept all day yesterday. I kept thinking it was Monday because I kept telling people later in the week. Yeah, that's gonna happen later in the week. And then yesterday I mentioned, oh yeah, that'll happen later in the week. And my wife was like, yeah, it's already
happened
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow's Thursday. I'm like, oh crap! I kept thinking today, like the holiday on Tuesday, just completely messed me up, and then us being off the air on Monday, it's thrown my system out of whack, my routine out of whack.
Not complaining. It was a great little vacay, but yeah, I'm on a different universe today.
You might need a vacation after what we're going to do at 11:30,
or stomach pump.
One or the other.
See.
I mean, just do it like a champ, Cam. Whatever, however it's going to go. And actually, we might need somebody to be behind the booth and you to come in here because We don't need glaze all over.
Yeah, technically, I'm not allowed to eat in the studio, even though I do it every day. Shout out DEFCON Dave. But yeah, probably for just because if he walks by and sees me just hammering donuts over the soundboard, the viewers might hear some language, and then like I'm not going to be able to press the dump button because I got donut in my hand, coffee in my right hand. So probably better if we go in the studio, right?
Right. Well, let's not pound donuts. Let's pound some football news, notes, and nuggets, and let's do that right now in this hour's edition of the Longhorn Notebook.
Jeff Howe's Longhorn Notebook.
Don't forget, we've also got a copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine to give away. We will give that away in hour number 2. So no DCTF giveaway in hour number 1. We will do it in hour number 2. Cam, let's talk about the preseason All Big 12 team that was released yesterday. 5 Longhorns selected for the team. That's the most of anybody in the conference. And Jalen Ford is your preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think, Cam, there's anything that, from the Texas standpoint, should have shocked you, but give me some of your initial thoughts on the preseason All Big 12 team and how the Longhorns stack up.
Well, first off, how do you guys decide the newcomer of the year? Because I saw Trayshawn Ward, and no offense to Trayshawn, I'm sure he's a great kid, great player, but he's the newcomer of the year.
Don't say you guys, because for the umpteenth year in a row, I was not given a ballot. I was not allowed to vote.
Well, that needs to be changed.
I think I've just made too much noise about the Big 12 being antiquated. I'm like, why do you guys still put a fullback on here? Like, I love.
Oh my God, they do.
Alex Delatorre and Andrew Beck, but I'm like, come on, just get with the times.
Is that just so like Iowa State and K-State for sure have someone on the preseason All Big 12 team?
I don't know, man, but it's it's kind of wheels off the way the Big 12 does it. So I don't know. I think it's maybe a spread the wealth kind of thing, but you can, to my knowledge, you can use transfers, because I want to say in 2019, Jalen Hurts was the preseason newcomer of the year. And I know I've seen transfers be up for that award before. So
and he's a transfer. Ward's from Florida State.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious. I feel like Jalen Catalon's better for that award.
And I saw some Twitter buzz, like, how does A.D. Mitchell not get? Well, A.D. Mitchell might have got some votes, but I don't know. It's more of the Big 12 ballot is something that I think legacy media probably takes a little more seriously than folks like me who are in the internet realm. Now, I think, I'll be honest, man, there's still some people in legacy media that kind of, I think, look down their nose upon folks that are doing this in the online realm. I'm not a real newsman.
Okay.
Some people might say.
Is there going to be beef next week?
Oh, no beef. Just
to separate you from Barry Trammell?
No, and even Texas, even OU going to the SEC with Texas, I don't think we're ever going to get rid of Barry Trammell. Just like I'm sure there are OU fans that probably thought, man, are we done? We're done with Kirk Bowles? Nope, Kirk's going to the SEC with Texas. So you're stuck with the Austin media contingent as we stand. But five make the list, Cam. And honestly, the only thing I have a complaint with, I don't really have a complaint with newcomer of the year. So whatever. The only thing I take issue with is how much more does Jahdae Barron have to do to get some respect, either from the coaches or the media, the coaches that coach in this league or the media that covers this league? Like, how much more does he need to do? Because there's some good defense. You have the list in front of you, Cam?
I do.
Run me down the defensive backs that made it.
Senior TJ Tampa from Iowa State.
Okay.
Junior Kobe Bryant from Kansas, spelled with a C.
Which I think he might have led the Big 12 in picks last year.
Kobe Savage with a K from Kansas State, the senior. That's fine. Kendall Daniels, the sophomore from Oklahoma State.
Which I think he was Big 12 freshman of the year last year. Those are good defensive backs.
And then senior Josh Newton from TCU.
Okay. Josh Newton was really good for TCU last year.
They're all good, but
playing opposite of Hodges Tomlinson. He was really good. But you can't tell me there are definitely 5 defensive backs in this league better than Jahdae Barron.
Yeah.
Like Jahdae Barron to me is like, he's going through the same thing Aaron Williams did. Like, I never understood why Aaron Williams was constantly snubbed by the league when it came to preseason, postseason, whatever. Like, after the 2009 season, Aaron Williams had a phenomenal year in 2009. And maybe it's because, like, well, we already got, Earl Thomas on this list, and you're going to put maybe Curtis Brown on there. Yeah, we don't want to just load it with Texas defensive backs. Like, I don't think Aaron Williams even got an honorable mention in 2009. And I'm like, the dude was one of the best defensive players, period, in the conference, if you just look at what he did on a game-to-game basis. And you're telling me he's not one of the best 15 or so defensive backs in this league. That blew my mind, and so I'm just puzzled with Jahdae Barron's omission.
No one on this list was unanimously voted on except for Xavier Worthy. If I'm reading that correct, there was only one player on the Big 12 all preseason team that was a unanimous selection. And it was Xavier Worthy.
Who are the other wide receivers?
Jaron Bradley from Texas Tech, the sophomore. And then
Brendan
Brendan
Presley,
senior from Oklahoma State. So I guess maybe it's a down year for receiver.
Down by
Big
Big
12?
12 standards. I mean, when you consider
Last year was Quentin Johnston.
like in 2018, like Colin Johnson didn't even get a sniff at first or second team All Big 12 with the kind of year he had.
Disgraceful.
I think was LJ Humphrey like second team that year, maybe. Like that 18 year was loaded. You had Hollywood Brown, and that league was just insane that year. Hakeem Butler at Iowa State, if I remember right. Was that maybe Denzel Mims' breakout season at Baylor? Had some really good wide receivers in the league that year. But yeah, by Big 12 standards, I think it's down.
But still, 5 overall. You know what that tells me,
How
Jeff?
is Jatavian Sanders not a unanimous selection at tight end?
Who would be the other option? Stogner coming back to Oklahoma?
Based on what? What he did like 3 years ago?
Mm. I mean,
okay. I know I'm sounding like a Texas homer, but dude, you're going to tell me there's a tight end in this conference better than JT Sanders?
yeah, I don't think so, considering that Sanders might be a first-round draft pick.
That's why it's weird. It's weird for me to argue some of this stuff because in years past, I would have argued it or was kind of stumped for one of the Texas guys, and it would have been like, well, you know, I'm saying this, but do I really believe it? And now I'm saying it and like, no, like I'm dead serious. Like this is, I don't understand how you can continue to omit Jahdae Barron and how JT Sanders. I know I'm nitpicking with the Sanders not being a unanimous selection thing, but there's somebody that covers this league. I want to meet the guy. I really want to meet the guy or gal next week who voted in this poll, who thinks there's a better tight end in the Big 12 than JT Sanders, and I want them to point that player out to me, and we'll have a little debate on how good JT Sanders is. As somebody mentioned, Kelvin Banks, not a unanimous selection.
Yeah,
That offensive tackle.
I would have thought Banks would have been unanimous over Worthy, but now looking at the receiver room, it makes sense. I mean, looking at last year's tight ends from the Big 12, Jeff, you know who had the highest amount of receiving yards and receptions out of tight end? JT Sanders. Next one was Braden Willis out of OU. And is he returning? Because I don't know, but he had 16 less receptions than JT Sanders, over 100 yards less, and not even close. I mean, he had 2 more touchdowns, but even then, I mean, come on.
No, Braden Willis is in the NFL now.
Okay, then. Maybe Mason Fairchild from Kansas. I could see some Kansas people voting for him.
Is Blake Sims back at Baylor?
Blake Bell, maybe.
Not the Belldozer. Come on, Cam.
Oh, you know who we're missing? Jared Wiley. That's got to be it, right?
Yeah, but you really gonna sit there and tell me that?
Yeah, I mean, now we're just nitpicking.
Yeah.
And Specs text line, Stogner is back at Oklahoma, right? He came back.
Stogner came back, yeah.
He went to South Carolina for Spencer Rattler. Now he's back at OU.
Ben Sims from Baylor. Ben Sims is actually in the league, signed with
Yeah.
the Vikings after the draft as an undrafted free agent. All right, maybe I could see somebody voting for Jared Wiley, but if you're going to say Wiley's better than Sanders, you better. If you're working for a TCU media outlet, you cover TCU, maybe I can see you doing that. But if not, if you got no dog in the fight saying Wiley's better than Sanders, I can't get with that.
And as a text from the Specs text line pointed out, how is Jalen Ford the defensive player of the year and Jalen Daniels the offensive player of the year, yet neither one are unanimous?
I don't know, man.
This is why I don't get into this stuff, Jeff, because it's just
it'll make you go crazy.
like if you ask like even the Specs text line, I saw it Chris Bennett, of course, like, hey, can you name the offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, newcomer of the year going into the preseason last like 10, 15 years? I mean, you could probably get a couple guesses like Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Baker.
I'm guessing Vince Young was that guy one year.
Sam Ellinger, maybe. Besides that, no one remembers. And, if you ask these guys, I'm sure, like, yeah, it's an honor, but at the same time, it's like, hey, we want to actually win. We want to win. And what this list tells me, Jeff, with Texas having the most selections, like, it's more evidence that Texas needs to be the best team in this league this year.
Yeah, I think the thing that I like the most is we talk about that spine of the defense, the central nervous system of the defense, to borrow Rod's term. the fact that the media that covers this league thinks that highly. I mean, obviously Jalen Ford was a shoo-in, but they think that highly of Byron Murphy to make him a preseason All Big 12 selection.
Yeah.
We know everybody that follows the team, we know how good Byron Murphy is. And it's probably just a matter of the more snaps he gets, the more his production is going to go up, because on a snap-to-snap basis the last 2 years, I don't think there was a better defensive tackle that Texas had. You go look at the Pro Football Focus numbers. It's a snap-by-snap basis on how they do things. Byron Murphy has been really good this first 2 years on campus. But we know Texas is deep at defensive tackle. Coming up next hour, and again, we'll do the Longhorn Notebook in the top of hour number 2. We'll look at some notes in the Insider. Texas is all of a sudden deep at linebacker, so maybe Jalen Ford. Or there's a hope, I should say. There's an expectation that Texas will be deeper at linebacker. So maybe you can have some guys take a little bit of pressure off of Jalen Ford, even with DeMarvion Overshone moving on. There was such good synergy between those two by the end of the year in the middle of that Texas defense. I remember in the Kansas game when Jalen Ford got that pick late in the first half, they had worked on that in practice, and it wasn't anything that they called specifically, but they knew based on the formation Kansas was in and the play design, hey, if the quarterback breaks contain, then DeMarvion was going to take the quarterback and Jalen Ford would drop into the area that Overshone was vacating. That's exactly what happened, and Jalen Ford gets a pick. They didn't have to call it out or remind each other. They just knew that's what they were supposed to do, and that's how Jalen Ford got that interception in the KU game. So there was really good synergy there, but there's a lot of talent in that Texas linebacker room. And then we talk about safety. Jalen Catalon, I've called him kind of the X factor defensively, because if he's healthy, if he's right, you've got an All-American caliber talent on the back end. And then with the spring Keaton Crawford had, with the strides Jaron Thompson made rebounding from a down sophomore year compared to what we expected, to having a pretty solid year last year. And then, depending on what you get from some of those kids, a Larry Turner Gooden, a B.J. Allen, maybe Derek Williams is ready for snaps. We'll see how all that works out. But up the middle of the defense, and you can even put Barron in there too, as close as the nickel plays to the line of scrimmage at times, and just how versatile you've got to be. I really like the spine of this defense, Cam. I think that's where you look in the strength of this Texas defense is going to be. I know there's concerns about edges, and I've talked about the importance of Terrence Brooks at that field corner, but up the middle of this defense, it's got a chance to be really good again.
And there's some points from the Insider this morning that Chip Brown dropped. I'm guessing we're going to get to in hour number 2.
Yeah.
Because there's some great stuff on Jalen Ford in there that I would love to go over with you.
Yep, we'll get to that in hour number 2. As a matter of fact, right now we'll take a break. We'll come back. Inconceivable. We'll close out hour number 1 here on Light the Tower, on the Horn, live, local, and digital, on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Inconceivable means Cameron Parker has something to delight us with. As
And
he stands
it's not the donuts yet. It's not the
roughly,
donuts
what
yet.
are we looking at, Cam? 35, 40 minutes
Something
away
like
from the donut apocalypse.
I'm a little nervous, to be honest.
It'll be fine.
We'll see.
We got plenty of trash cans in here if you need to toss them donuts.
Speaking of trash cans, I think Tiger Woods wanted to hurl into a trash can after last week. So let's back up a little bit here, Jeff. You know, you have the PGA Tour, Live Golf, the Saudi Public Investment Fund all joining forces, right?
Mhm.
Now, of course, before there was a lawsuit, which meant that the PGA Tour and their communication staff was subpoenaed, including a lot of documents from last year. So now last year, about a year ago, the 2022 Travelers Championship, Jay Monahan was going to meet with the players to discuss the ongoing battle between the PGA Tour and Live Golf. Now, at this event, Jeff, Jay Monahan wanted Tiger Woods to speak at it. And this meant that Monahan and the PGA Tour drafted a script for Tiger Woods to use when talking to the players to try to get them on board against Liv. Now, this has the script obtained here in court.
Oh, it leaked, huh?
It leaked. Basically, it has everything down to a T, all the way down to Tiger Woods using the F-bomb in his own little way. Now, the script here, it says he walks in, thanks, Jay, turns to the cameras in the back, says, hey, can we cut the cameras off? That's scripted in there, including...
Oh, no!
And then a lot of other tidbits about, hey, let me start by saying our captain, who is Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, is working his butt off. He's the right guy. He's a fighter. He's protecting you from the worst of it. Stay away from Liv. And at the very end of it, it has Tiger saying to the players, the guys, first, do what I did. Tell the Saudis to go F themselves. So this whole script comes out. Well, Tiger Woods saw it. He tweets out on, this is July 2nd, he tweets out, in response to the Talking Points memo released this weekend, I have never seen this document until today, and I did not attend the players' meeting for which it was prepared for at the 2022 Travelers Championship. Yikes. Meanwhile, Jay Monahan, the commissioner, Jeff, the week of the U.S. Open, which was the same week that this whole merger,
Right.
quote unquote, came together, he was in the hospital, and we have not heard an update yet for about 3 weeks. We don't know if he's doing good or bad. PGA Tour players don't even know. So this might be like, they're kind of slowly pushing him away from the public image. But this drops. You got Tiger Woods going on the offensive against the PGA
So
Tour.
Tiger's saying he wasn't even there.
No, he wasn't there. But
We know for sure he wasn't there?
Yeah. The plan was to bring him there.
Okay.
And they had a script for him, but it never worked out. But of course, it's a public document. So when the PGA Tour was subpoenaed by the U.S. court, whatever, it came to public light and was eventually leaked. But it's not a great look.
No.
And you know how much that's going to piss off Tiger Woods being told what to say.
Dude. Yeah. Jay Monahan's I'm just wondering what the dollar figure is with the golden parachute he's gonna get.
Well, I'm curious I hope he's okay, but it's kind of weird when the commissioner of your association, league, whatever, is missing for 3 weeks because of an undisclosed medical condition, and there's no updates. There's no updates. Like, if Roger Goodell was in the hospital, Jeff, do you think there'd be updates every day, right? I mean, we'd be hearing from probably Shams tweeting about, hey,
Yeah.
this is what's going on. Same thing for Adam Silver, even Bug Selig, Gary Bennett. But nothing. We have no idea what's going on with Jay Monahan, if he's okay, if he's fit to continue to serve. Like, it kind of sounds like they're transitioning away from Jay Monahan, because I know the players don't want him to be commissioner again after he pulled this one behind him. But either way, it's very inconceivable.
That is very true. Speaking of inconceivable, Cam, are you on? You signed up for Threads?
I did. Did you?
Did? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you followed me yet?
I haven't followed anybody yet. I just accepted the invite. Didn't even set up my profile yet.
Okay.
I just figured out how to do it. Hey, go to Instagram and do this, and this. So I haven't set it up yet. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens. I'll set up my. I'm not going to spend too much time setting it up. But.
CB wanted to know if we were going to go live on Threads for the donut eating contest.
Nope. I don't think we have that capability in the studio. We'll have to settle for Twitch. We are live on Twitch right now, right?
Yeah, we are. There's the Gone Fishing sign over Craig Way's camera, which is where I'm guessing I'll be sitting at. So,
Yes, that's where you will be.
so it's not Craig Way eating the donuts for those who will eventually be watching.
No, it'll be Cam. You want to unpack the Victor Wembanyama Britney Spears?
I have
mess?
not read about it, so please enlighten me.
So I found this CB actually I think sent me this morning. Yeah. And at first I was like, it's kind of like when you read the headline, you don't read it because I was full disclosure, I was driving. I just saw Britney Spears smacked in the face by Victor Wembanyama. I'm like, the hell? Like Victor Wembanyama just taught off and smacked Britney Spears in the face? No. She was smacked by San Antonio Spurs security because she wanted a picture with Victor Wembanyama. This, according to TMZ, Britney Spears was allegedly assaulted Wednesday night in Vegas after a member of NBA phenom Victor Wembanyama's security backhanded her in the face.
Oh, my goodness.
And she has filed a police report. The incident went down at Catch Restaurant in the ARIA area. I don't know if I'm saying that
area?
Right. Hotel around 8:30 p.m. Britney, along with her husband and two others, went to the restaurant for dinner. She was swarmed by fans as she entered the casino. Britney and company walked over to Catch, and as they were entering the restaurant, Britney spotted Victor. We're told she's a fan and went over. Like, Britney Spears is a huge Victor Wembanyama fan. Like, okay, what are we doing here? Went over to him, asked if they could take a photo together. She tapped him on his back, right shoulder, and we're told director of team security for the San Antonio Spurs, team that drafted Victor last month, instantly backhanded her, causing her to fall to the ground, knocking her glasses off.
Oh, my goodness.
Is terrible. Do you talk about taking your job? Like, I always accuse the red coats at the Irwin Center back in the day of just being overzealous and taking their job way too seriously. Like, hey, they asked you to sit down. You need to not cheer this time. Thank goodness we don't have that at Moody Center. but dude, you're gonna back. I don't care if it's Britney Spears or like, whoever. Backhand anybody, let alone a woman, there's no excuse for that.
Well, at least they're taking their job seriously.
Britney composed herself and went to her table. We're told the security guy came over to the table and apologized. He said, quote, "You understand how it is when you're being swarmed by fans." He apologized and Britney accepted it. By the way, we're told he also said when he slapped her, he didn't know who she was. Like, that makes it any better. Like, that excuses it. I hope this dude is no longer employed by the San Antonio Spurs.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, you hit a woman in the face. In the face, Cam. Knocked her glasses off her face. I got no respect for that. And, oh gosh, just makes my blood boil. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ the man listed on the police report as the one who slapped Britney Spears is Damian Smith. Again, he's director of team security for the Spurs. Our sources say it is not being handled as a criminal matter because cops determined Smith was not trying to hurt Britney, but rather defend Victor Wembanyama.
I'm with the bodyguard. I'm sorry. He's the most precious asset on the planet right now for the Spurs fans. Also, apparently, I just found out that Rob Manfred's the MLB commissioner. So thanks to you guys for reminding me.
Did you not know who the MLB commissioner?
I think I did. Just tells me how much I don't pay attention to MLB commissioners.
All right, real quick. A New Jersey judge used an alias to post TikTok videos, lip-syncing rap and pop songs with controversial lyrics, and did so at times while wearing judicial robes and in the courthouse. This according to a judicial conduct complaint. Superior Court Judge Gary N. Wilcox, 58, posted about 40 videos under the name Sal Tortorella from April 11, 2021 to March 4th, of this year. According to the complaint from the Supreme Court of New Jersey Advisory Committee on Judicial Conduct, that's a mouthful, that was filed last Friday. Wilcox posts were public and not in a private setting. The complaint said the posts undermined public confidence in the judiciary and I'm assuming that's supposed to say judiciary system, and violated judicial rules. The complaint also said that many of the videos included references to violence, sex, misogyny, and that one post included the judge, quote, partially dressed while laying in bed.
Oh, my God.
If you're going to do stuff on social media, just don't out yourself. Don't make it obvious. Be a little more little more incognito. Speaking of incognito, there will be nothing incognito about a half hour from now when Cameron tries to devour 10 donuts in 5 minutes. That's coming up in hour number 2 of Light the Tower on the Horn, live, local, and digital on the Horn app. Head at hornfm.com. Hour number 2 of Light the Tower on the Horn. Jeff Howe, Cameron Parker, Craig Way still vacationing. Cam, I was reading up more on the TikTok judge that got himself in a bind. Apparently, in one of his TikToks, he had a Nas song playing as he walked through the courthouse wearing a Beavis and Butthead t-shirt. It's one of the complaints lodged against him.
Is he in the cauldron for you?
No, he's.
Can we create a separate area for?
Yeah, because I was gonna say it's not really a Darwin. That doesn't deserve a Darwin Award either. I don't know.
There's got to be a separate one for asinines who use social media and who are unbelievably stupid, especially when you have a job as a public figure.
I forgot to tell you guys this about my trip to Disney World. So one of the things, it probably just goes in the cringe file, the ultra cringe file, because one of the cringiest thing of all the cringy things you think you'd see at Disney World, by far the cringiest, and it wasn't even close. I saw people, Cam, more often than not, girls, that were having like legit social media photo shoots inside Disney World with like Epcot Center or Cinderella's Castle or whatever in the background, like posing and, making sure the lighting was right and the hair was right. I'm like you paid all that money to get into Disney World, and this is what you're doing with your time. This is what you decided to do with your Wednesday.
Do you think they enjoy it?
Because if I didn't have a 5-year-old, I'll be honest, if I didn't have a 5-year-old, I would have no reason really to go to Disney World.
Do you think they enjoy it? Because like if I go to like a sporting event that I'm working, it's like in the back of my mind's like, okay, I need to post on social media, but at the same time, I don't really like it. I'm there to actually like either do my job or watch the game. I don't really want to post, but I know part of it because your boss are like, hey, let's get some social media. Let's get engagement. How do you enjoy that? Like
I don't.
Like, there's no way. Like if you constantly everything you're doing is being recorded, like there's no way you enjoy that.
No, I tell you what I enjoy is like on my Instagram account where I get like I'll buy a card or cards plural and get the package in the mail, and I'll open the package and see what's inside and have a nice little mail reveal. Yeah. That's what I enjoy doing. I don't really enjoy.
But that's just for what, 10 minutes?
If that.
And hey, speaking of, with Threads, you now can connect your Thread account to the Instagram account, but it's all owned by Meta. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah.
I think Threads is going to be perfect for you, Jeff. I think everyone, what's your username on Threads?
Jeff Howe 24/7.
There we go.
That's my handle on all of my, except Facebook. I think it's just my name, but I roll incognito on Facebook though.
And I'm Cameron D. Parker, by the way.
I gotta have one social media platform where I can let my family have access to pictures of my daughter, and Facebook is that medium for me. Twitter I use exclusively for work, and yeah, I'll retweet and like some BS things. Instagram I tend to keep that more for, stuff I'm a fan of. Like it's a lot of UT football shorts and what I put on the I think I did my story the other day. I found a reel of a compilation of Wilford Brimley just saying diabetes over and over again, and I put that as part of my Instagram story. So that's kind of stuff I do on Instagram.
I'm surprised.
It's more of the stuff. It's more of the jackass variety, if you will.
I'm waiting for CB to follow me. I'm surprised CB wasn't the first person to find me on Threads.
How many people follow you on Threads right now?
I think I'm at 12.
You're 12?
Nice. I created the account and I already had 6 people following me. Like, how is that possible?
I think there's an option to like you follow everybody that you follow on Instagram that has a Threads account or whatever. I don't know how all that works.
Yeah, I didn't go for that.
Hey, you know what people can go for though, Cam? A free copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
Right now?
Not right now. Okay. When we go to break. So before you come in here and chow down on some donuts, we're going to give away a copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football at the end of this segment. Somebody asked on the Specs text line, is the judge a Republican or a Democrat? I'm not sure what that matters, but does not say in the story. So, yeah, there's that. Let's see. Anything else on the Specs text line? Big on the Britney Spears, Victor Wembanyama security incident. Big Crit fan says, gotta protect those twig shins, boys. Understandable. Police Chief Cantu, thank you for chiming in. Jeff Mudd, I don't think I'm going to repeat that on the air, so thank you, everybody, for your contributions. We greatly appreciate it. John of the Bay asks if I have watched Greg McElroy's interview with Sark. Yeah, it was pretty good. I watched just about all of it yesterday. I think there was a couple minutes that I missed where I got distracted and did something and left like the last 2 minutes of it. Let's see. And in response, I guess this is a response came to my Disney World revelation. It says there's a reason that vanity is one of the 7 deadly sins. Plenty of people out there that not only enjoy but need constant eyes on them. Folks, am not one of those people. Trust me. So, yeah, it's just really weird. Or like, you see that walking around Austin. Like, to me, there's a difference between the family that wants a picture, right, of somewhere they're at, or taking a picture of your kid, especially at a place like Disney World. Like, we took some pictures of my daughter standing in front of Cinderella's castle. Okay, she's 5. She loves Cinderella. To me, that's acceptable. There's a difference between that and like being downtown and like somebody following you with like tens of thousands of dollars worth of video equipment and camera equipment, and you're doing an impromptu photo shoot on the street. It's just cringy, man. Just makes me uneasy thinking about it, Cam.
It's the contrast between my generation below me, and then yours, where everything, the mine below is, everything's got to be recorded right. Everything you're doing is on social media. And for y'all could just have a good time without your cell phones. I've
kind of turned into old man yelling at cloud in a lot of ways, because especially like a baseball game or a concert, those are really the two areas where I notice it is people that will stand up and record like a big moment on their phone. Like, when are you ever going to go? Or like, I saw it at Disney World too, going back to Disney World, like people recording like the ride, like while they're on, they got their phone. I'm like, when are you ever going to go back and watch that video? When are you ever going to do that? One little snapshot will suffice.
I was the guy at concerts when I first started going that would record every song, It's like, I got to have the song recorded. And I've gone back for maybe a few for big moments, but besides that, it's like, why did you record the entire concert? Like, so you can hear yourself singing off key?
Yeah, dog.
So you can be
dang coach mistake.
Now, gotten to the point, and maybe I'm just older, is just to try and enjoy the moment, right? Especially at football games. Because I think possibly a little bit for me was like I didn't get to go to a lot of Texas games growing up, so when I was able to go, it's like, man, I want to have this big moment on camera and all this. And now it's just like, you try and enjoy it. So I think I enjoyed the Alabama game. I didn't record anything that game, and it's going to be probably one of the best games I've ever attended in my entire life, and that's without any pictures, any videos.
I've done that a couple times, but like on the road trips, especially for me, I don't usually record anything on road trips because I want to soak that in, like whether it's been Notre Dame or the Coliseum in Los Angeles, going to the Grove at Ole Miss. This text, the same for fireworks shows.
That's ridiculous.
Who the hell ever rewatches a fireworks show? Oh, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It says, I'm probably one of your worst listener type / consumers of content. I still take great joy in not having an Instagram, but my job doesn't necessitate it. I
don't have TikTok, man. My life has been pretty good without it, I think.
Yeah, my wife uses TikTok, but my wife is a principal for middle school kids and high school kids. You'd be honestly surprised how many incidents she has to deal with based on something that happened on TikTok.
Well, I mean, kids pull their phone up and they'll just do their dance, skit, whatever in the middle of class.
And she'll tell me some of this stuff, and I'm like, and they thought it was a smart idea not only to do that, but to record themselves doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, kids. I just tend to think
just goes back.
And I'm just saying, kids in general. Like when I was a teenager, could have said the same thing about me. I just think all teenagers are dumb. 99% of them are dumb.
You know what's gotten a lot of good clicks this morning?
What's that?
The insider piece on horns247.com.
I see you trying to get me back on topic. Thank you, Kim. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's get into this hour's edition of the Longhorn Notebook.
Jeff Howe's Longhorn Notebook.
Where do you want to start with the insider, Cam? Again, you can get over to Horns 24/7. It's either that or the Ethiel Horton commitment that is our lead story on the site right now. If not, I'll go ahead and make the insider our lead story just so everybody can get over there and follow it. An easy place to find it. Where do you want to start, Cam? You play point guard here, and we'll discuss whatever.
So it's kind of in the heart of this article, but for me, it's the offensive line and how it's kind of come into shape here. So it sounds like from this piece that right now Cole Hudson has been taking snaps at center, mixing with Jake Majors, and then also the Westlake product Connor Robertson, who's coming up, I believe, a wrist surgery. He's also taking snaps at center, but it looks like right now that the offensive line, you're going to have Kelvin Banks at left tackle, Hayden Connor at left guard, which we kind of knew going in. Center position, we thought it would be Jake Majors, but looks like it's going to be Cole Hudson, and that means that right guard spot probably going to be DJ Campbell, which is huge because he was the one guy we figured, how is he going to get on the field? Because he looked really good against Washington in the bowl game. Another spring practice, you figured he was eventually going to put himself in the starting rotation. Looks like he already has at right guard, of course, with Christian Jones at right tackle.
Yeah, the Hudson thing working at center is interesting, and I don't know. I don't know if camp is probably not enough time. Just in my head, camp is probably not enough time for him to overtake Jake Majors. But I think if you look down further in that camp, I think that is preparing for the fact like Jake Majors could be done after this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether he pursues an opportunity, playing professionally or just decides to move on, whatever's next. I mean, he hasn't already. He's getting to the point where he's graduating. So at that point, it's guys decide, hey, maybe I'll grad transfer, maybe I'm just done, take a shot at pro football, whatever. I think this is them saying, Cole Hudson's still one of our best 5, but so is DJ Campbell. Maybe get DJ Campbell, just keep him working at right guard and see if maybe in 2024, if Cole Hudson could be your center.
So if week 1 was today, who do you think would be the starting 5?
I think it'd be left to right. I think it would be Banks, Connor, Majors, probably Campbell and Jones.
Wow. Okay. But it does seem like from this piece from Chip Brown that Kyle Flood likes to have 3 centers, and that's because with this move to the SEC, the biggest gap from the SEC, the other regions, other conferences is there's no one like defensive tackles in the SEC. So that means you got to have big, strong centers. And I think that's been, I don't know if it's been an issue, Jeff, but I can't remember the last big physical center. I mean, Dominic Espinoza. And
Dom was in probably the mid 300s, like 310-ish.
Okay, so
but
yeah,
he wasn't.
really.
It wasn't like, and I like Dom, but it wasn't like he was just
overpowering.
Yeah. Lyle Sinline was a different kind of center.
That was 09.
Yeah, no, actually, Lyle Sinline was 05, 06.
05, 06,
Lyle Sinline
mind.
was only the starting center for 2 years. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Chris Hall was another. I wouldn't say Chris Hall was just overpowered, just mauled dudes at the point of attack. I'm trying to think. Just run it through my head. Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the closest thing Texas has had to that, again, Lyle Sinline was a multi-year pro in the NFL, was a different kind of center. I mean, dude, is it Zach Shackelford?
Yeah, that's probably it.
He
was the most consistent.
Yeah, and it just injuries kind of piled up on him, and he had a little cup of coffee in the NFL with Tampa in a preseason. But yeah, and there's been guys they've recruited that they thought had a chance to be centers. I mean, Trey Hopkins was recruited back in 2010 with the thought that maybe he could play center.
Mm-hmm.
There was a thought that maybe Connor Williams could work some center.
And it's funny because both those guys play center in the NFL.
Yeah, it just so happened though that Connor Williams, there was just such a need at left tackle. I mean, he was with the ones his first spring, and it's like, wow, Connor Williams must be pretty good. And you're looking around like, dude, there's literally nobody. Like, who's gonna step up and take his job? There was nobody at the time capable of doing that. The offensive line depth was far cry then from where it is now. I think this is more about figuring out who your center of the future is going to be. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an interesting deal because Hudson can play guard. So I think it's about manufacturing depth, looking to the future a little bit. And the other thing, backup center is one of those positions you never think about it until something happens to your starter. If something happens to Jake Majors, who's the guy that's going to go into a game? I think at that point, the staff, it sounds like they probably might want it to be Cole Hudson, but it could be Connor Robertson. Hayden Connors worked a little bit of center. If you remember, and I don't think we ever really saw it outside of maybe a spring game, like Junior Angulau for the last couple of years worked center.
Mm-hmm.
We just never, I think just wanted to get him used to snapping the ball and see, if it came to that, you went down a couple centers, you at least have somebody that you felt confident could execute a snap. But yeah, I think that's true. Like, and if you watch pregame warmups too, you'll see like 3 or 4 centers out with the quarterbacks. So they've got guys. They always like having guys. Kyle Flood does that. Kyle Flood and Sark that can snap the ball, that are capable of it.
So curious to see what happens then in fall camp with that.
Yeah.
The other big thing from this piece, I think, was hearing the reports about Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, how they're treating this season, even Xavier Worthy. The term used from Chip Brown's source, contract
year. Yeah. And did Alfred Collins, it's never been about talent with him. It's never been about measurables. It's just, can he put it all together? And Broughton a little bit the same. I remember, it's funny, because Vernon Broughton committed to Texas. So Vernon Broughton was class of 2020. So this would have been Big 12 Media Days back in 2019 when he committed. And I remember saying at the time, Broughton, and then, we knew they were in on Alfred Collins at that point. I'm like, these are the kind of guys that you go win high leverage football games with these guys on the interior. And we've seen them flash that ability. But have they shown it on a down-to-down basis consistently? No. My big concern with the defensive line, and again, this is part of it in the Insider too, the total package that you get with Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, not just the skills on the field, the skill sets and the motors and everything that comes with those guys, but their leadership too. It's kind of got more of an edge to it in terms of their leadership. You know what you're going to get from those guys every snap. And I'm not worried at all about Sweat and Murphy being able to replace what you lost with Coburn and Ojomo. I'm worried about, can Collins and Broughton with Trill Carter mixed in and maybe Aaron Bryant or Zach Swanson, one of those young guys, Jere Bledsoe maybe situationally, can the rest of those guys give you what Sweat and Murphy and on down the depth chart gave you last year? That's what I don't know about this D tackle room yet. That's why it's pivotal. If you can be legitimately too deep at the defensive tackle spots, you should have, once again, one of the better interior D-line groups in the country.
It sounds like Bo Davis and PK are confident, though, in this heavy D-line package. I think in the piece it's T-Sweat, Murphy, possibly maybe even Sadir Mitchell coming in, 4 guys who are going to be big on, short yardage or red zone situations. Sweat, Murphy, Collins, and Broughton.
Yeah, that makes sense because Collins has played wider shades. Broughton played some of that in high school, not so much since he's been at Texas. But yeah, that makes sense.
But the edges is the one part. Is that what you're probably most curious about coming out of fall camp?
Just the edges. Just the edge spot opposite of Sorrell. I mean, I feel good about Barron Sorrell. Barron Sorrell had a really productive year last year. It's just that other edge spot. And again, I think you probably moneyball it a little bit, just maybe on an opponent-by-opponent basis, figure out whether it needs to be a little bit more Ethan Burke and maybe Colton Vosick that week, maybe a little more Finkley and Tapp, maybe a little more Bledsoe if you're playing a Kansas State or an Iowa State that utilizes bigger personnel that wants to get heavy on you. So, yeah, I'm worried about that one a little bit just because, can somebody emerge? Like we talk about running back, right? Like I think if a 1,000-yard back is going to emerge, I think it's going to be Brooks. If somebody at that end spot opposite of Sorrell has, pick a number, like 5 or more sacks, I don't know. I can't tell you right now who I think it's going to be. I don't have a good answer for you.
One guy who's probably going to emerge will be Anthony Hill. And it sounds like he's going to take over that demo spot on the weak side. Will play in a lot of pass rush situations this season. Now it looks like
I just talk about edge. That could alleviate some of the problems. Yeah.
But it does sound like so far from spring and summer workouts, Anthony Hill is the guy that Texas thought he was going to be when he committed.
I think he and Leonga Lafau both. I mean, I mentioned it back in the spring camp. This staff. Everybody was focused on Anthony Hill, but with both of those guys, Hill and Lafau, this staff felt like they hit 2 grand slams in recruiting. Like from day one, those guys were everything they thought they would be, just in terms of the kind of dudes they recruited, type of athletes they are. And then once they got the pads on, once they got into spring practice, they realized, all right, these dudes can bring a little bit. Even like what little we got to see during spring practice, we being the media, the little portions of practice that we were privy to. You could tell Leonga Lafau, like you could see there was something there. Like obviously Anthony Hill's a guy that jumps off the screen, but you could see like, yeah, there's something there with Lafau. And we haven't even seen, Samaje Burrell or the other guys. And again, a guy that I really like at linebacker still, man. I still think Maurice Blackwell is going to give this defense something of significance this year.
It sounds like maybe him or David Benda could be in that will spot alongside Anthony Hill, because I don't think Anthony Hill is going to be the every down starter for Texas in this first year.
No, I don't even think he's going to start.
Yeah.
At the outset.
So it might be Mo Blackwell or David Benda.
I don't even think if I remember right, I don't even think Derek Johnson started game 1 as a true freshman. Granted, times were different back then, but again, going back to like the Connor Williams thing, Malik Jefferson did because
no one else to start.
You didn't have anybody else. That was it. That's all you had. Trying to think other really good, like Jordan Hicks didn't start as a freshman, but you still had quality linebackers. You still had Manny Acho and Keenan Robinson and some other really good players, some depth guys at that position that have been around for a while. Anything else, Cam?
Not from the piece. Again, the insider horns247.com. Good stuff from Chip Brown on it, but a lot of positivity from it. Now, of course, we could just be all drinking the Kool-Aid. So trying to handle.
It tastes good though, don't it?
Tastes really good.
Tastes damn good.
Really good. And also that quote from Sark on Greg McElroy's podcast. Make sure you get the name for it in case y'all want to listen to it. Always College Football Podcast. Said that Jay Wood has kind of taken over the Roschon Johnson role of the team. Now, did you infer from that as like the leadership aspect? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I wouldn't mind seeing Jay Wood come out of the backfield a little bit. Now, of course, with the running back room as big as it is, I understand. But
no, I would try to figure out more ways to use Jay Wood. But yeah, that is talking more about the leadership aspect. But dude, if you got that weapon, utilize it, man. Don't leave any meat on the bone.
No stone unturned.
We got to turn over one more stone before we hit the break, and we got to get to our flex update.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit brainvault.com and join the movement.
All right, Cam, real quick, what do we have for the flex update? By the way, shout out to Dr. Eckert and the folks at Brain Vault.
Yeah, so keep an eye out, peeled for the All Flex watch list. It'll be dropping sometime soon in the next few months. Again, no Flex shows until Friday Night Flex returns, but keep an eye out for that All Flex team.
I've seen the preliminary list for the All Flex team.
Your thoughts on it?
That hit my inbox yesterday. Oh, I think it's a really good start for you guys. Before that thing's a long way away from being finalized. I know you and Derek and Zach Lucero and Nolan Hogan. Who else is working on that?
Chad Hastings.
Yeah, that's a really good start, though. Yeah. You guys are starting from a really good spot. So, all right, that's going to do it for this segment. Hey, speaking of flex, speaking of high school football, right now, since Cam has to eat 10 donuts in 5 minutes, let's take caller number 10 on the hotline. Give him that hotline number, Cam.